Hello, Kathy. Welcome to Birmingham Trade Union website. Uh, I'm going to start by asking you about what's actually happening in terms of the virus emergency that we are facing and the health issues that are being raised, and particularly the fact that now we're trying to open up and return back to work, how you see that developing. So Boris government has decided that most of us should return to work while the number of infections are high and deaths remain high as well. And we have no clear idea of social distancing and how it can be maintained in public transport and other confined spaces. The government seems to be adopting a strategy of returning us all to work in the interest of the economy. What do you think are the threats to us in such a strategy?
Well, Naeem, I agree with you that there are a lot of threats. The biggest risk, of course, is that there will be far more deaths from COVID-19 reaching into more vulnerable groups. And a stop-start return to work, that's not even a logical thing for the economy, as some economists have said. So we're all going to suffer. Um, in short, it's a reckless strategy done in a rush before taking the various steps that need to be taken. Now, I'm in a thing called Hazard Campaign, and they had outlined a whole number of things that would have to be done in order to put into place a safe return to work. I'll just open a slide that I've done. It won't let me, I don't think. Host disabled the participant screen. Okay. Well, I won't be able to do that. But basically, there are a number of different things which the Hazards Campaign said. And of course, they haven't been put into place. One of the things that's not generally known is that it would be so much better if all non-essential jobs were stopped for at least 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks before having a return, because you need about 2 cycles of the virus's reproduction in order to really bring down the safe level. So that hasn't been done, but there's still a possibility that either there will have to be another go at stopping things and starting them again, and there's always the countries around the world, around the rest of the UK, which haven't yet done it. So there's plenty of leeway for them to do that. Yes, so those things haven't been put into place, but some people, particularly through the unions, are actively still pursuing the safe things that need to be put into place.
Kathy, you can show the slide if you want now. I think I've enabled the share.
Yes, right. This one here. That there should be no return to work before these different things have happened. So there needs to be a proper system in place of testing, tracing, and isolating. That, you know, this government is still months into it, not really decided how they're going to do it, and who's going to do it, in order to make sure that we can both track how effective the different systems are, and that we can actually control the situation. And there needs to be a proper social distancing policy in place in the public and in transport, in order to make sure that when we do return to work, the safety measures have been put in before, and not in the disgracefully fast return to work when people were told, those of you who can return to work should do so, basically from the following day. So I'll close that down. There we are. Next question.
Okay, what can we do as individuals and as a collective to ensure our safety What are our rights as employees and how can we enforce them?
Well, I'm going to start with the questions about what the unions are doing to help here, because the schools are currently in the forefront. There's massive protests at the moment from parents and teachers and from support staff, all the unions that involve the schools, because at the moment the risk is that risk to students and staff and to the vulnerable adults that are at home. And those unions are doing their best to ensure that they're not just going to be pawns to be sacrificed for the sake of releasing parents to go back to work. So there's no return. We need to make sure there's no return until it's safe to do so. And right across industries, the TUC has been instrumental in securing certain important concessions. For example, they've agreed £14 million to return to the HSE to enforce safety, but the Prospect, which is the trade union that includes safety inspectors, are saying, well, really, that's only returning them, and not even that properly, to the level that they were before they were cut. It's not nearly enough. So there's been a whole number of different agreements across industry, some of them already signed and some of them not yet. Such as in the steel industry, there's agreements in place for a safe return, but there won't be a proper safe return until public safety has been enforced, as well as workplace safety. In the transport industry, there has been a number of things. I know there's going to be somebody else interviewed, so I won't say much about the transport industry, but I'll give one example, is that in some parts of the rail network, there are now proper visors available for staff, but in others they're still not introduced yet. So my union, Unite the Union, has had many interventions in place, both in workplaces where they've had agreements, but also they're demanding for bus drivers bereavement payments similar to those that are in place for health workers. And if you look on their website, there is extensive advice available, publicly available, that is. You don't have to be a member to go into this part, for all and everything from risk assessments to workers' rights on furlough. And hundreds of thousands of workers are joining unions. They've put the TUC courses for reps and safety reps online, so they're upping their training and so on. And unions are absolutely vital in the improvements that are being made and demanded in different industries. Getting back to your question on what we can do individually and collectively to ensure safety, collectively is the only way forward, really, because individually, if you're not in a union, you haven't got a lot of rights. I did see that another speaker, Ian, did say on another recording here that Section 44 of the Employment Act gives you the right to refuse to work in serious and imminent danger. Well, that is correct, but if you look at what that actually means in practice, all that does is it gives you the right to take a claim for constructive dismissal to an employment tribunal if your employer sacks you. Now, this can be very expensive if you even qualify. Not everybody does. Not all workers do. And if you're not in a trade union, it's not really an effective option. So for goodness sake, if you're not already in a union, do join one. But for those workers who are in unions, it's quite different. Already, so far, workers in libraries, postal service and waste collection have used this successfully over walkouts over coronavirus issues. The government has currently said that nobody has to send their child back to school as well, so there's some protection there. as far as the schools are concerned. But you know, not all employers are going to agree with what I'm saying and accept that that is an acceptable reason for staff not going back to work. So we need more protections put in place, and collectively through our unions, we need to be demanding that they ensure that the government puts more rights in place. So that's collectively, but individually, you can join in with the actions of such pressure groups as are starting to do things like in the West Midlands here, we have a West Midlands Coronavirus Action Group. They have a Facebook page and they've been doing actions. There's parents and teachers groups. One's been started by the West Midlands Coronavirus Action Group. And Birmingham is not yet one of those local authorities. Around the country, there's an increasing number of them who are saying that schools shouldn't go back to that area. So that group is investigating the possibility of using those Section 44 rights collectively in the return to work. So that's, I think, covered your two questions that you were asking.
Okay. Kathy, you're on the executive of the Birmingham Trades Council that represents most trade unionists in the city. What is BTUC planning in this respect?
Well, most immediately is that we're having another one of our delegates meetings that we're opening to all trade unionists and community activists. This next one is going to be on Thursday, 21st of May at 5 p.m. And that's just one of a number of delegates meetings that we're having where local trade unionists and also other relevant speakers from different parts of the country even, which is a lot easier to do nowadays with our online facilities, are discussing, saying what's happening, looking at the way forward and so on. We've doubled the number of delegates meetings that we're having in order to be able to cope with the need to discuss these things. And both individually and collectively, the Trades Council's executive are supporting these different groups and their activities and publicising them and taking part in them. So we would like to be able to do more as well. Those trade unionists who haven't taken part, we would appeal to you, do please make sure that you and your fellow trade unionists in your branches do take up the opportunity that is open to you to get involved with your Trades Council, so that we can intervene even more and have more feedback about what really is happening locally to pass on and organise as much as possible. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Kathy. I think we're also going to be joined on 21st, 5 p.m. by Bernard Reagan from the NEU, and he's going to be discussing with us the issues that schools face, and particularly the safety issues to do with the coronavirus. So I think it should be an interesting discussion, and I think both you and Pat Collins would be joining us. Pat Collins is from the RMT, and they have particular issues in terms of providing transport safely, both for their passengers and for themselves as operators. And I think so it would be an interesting delegate meeting on that day. Well, thank you very much, Kathy.